Hey, Doug, I saw you tweet about this. Did you hear Michael Porter Jr. on the Pivot podcast talking about women's basketball?
And they're very talented, but so is a famous ping pong player. They're just as talented as a like the best ping pong player is just as talented as the best basketball player. That doesn't mean they're going to get paid the same because
Right.
Because they
it's
play
what
ping pong.
it's what the people want to watch. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
as much as I understand females wanting the same treatment as men basketball players, it's a different sport. People, they're not packing out the arenas. Obviously, their TV deals aren't the same. So as much as I advocate for women and kind of the equality of the respect of their craft and all those things, I mean, you can't pay them the same thing, but I do feel like there should be a little way to make a little bit more money for them
Right.
because they are very talented.
Doug, what annoys me about this is the response over the weekend. People going right to the misogyny card.
Oh my
sexist
God!
card.
Yes, it's. Oh my God! Keep going. I'm glad
No,
you brought
I'm just
this up.
saying that maybe it wasn't said perfectly, but
What was said wrong?
I don't. Nothing was said wrong.
Okay,
It's just
so what
he
was-
just kind of
what-
misspoke a little bit.
What do you misspeak?
I think he maybe went a little too hard on the fact that it's just not that interesting. He was speaking in general as opposed to just his perspective. I'm not that interested in it. You're not that interested in it. Not
So
all
what he
of
said
us
was-
are uninterested in it.
Well, so he should have personalized it. Me personally,
A little bit more, a little bit more personalized. Yeah.
That we're really. I mean, look. Here's the deal, okay? And Elijah can put this out on social media okay? To the people on social media, okay? So there's this group of people on social media who legitimately care about women's sports and want it to grow. And then there's this other group that kind of mirrors it, that you're all fucking phonies, okay? You're a bunch of phonies. You're trying to get liked on Twitter because you think if you go like, oh man, women's basketball is amazing. I'm tuning in. I'm watching. Why isn't more people? Put it on more. It's worth more money. Pay them more money, more revenue, whatever. You're phonies because you don't really believe it. You're just trying to curry favor so that you can be popular with that section of people that actually give a shit. To the people that actually give a shit, you're fine. Listen, I understand that you feel like you're in an uphill battle for some sort. You want some sort of question of equality. You're not going to get it if you want equal revenue share. Do you know why? Because a lot of these teams don't fucking make any money. Okay, the reason they don't open the books to show you is because they don't make any money. And if they did, like, oh, you could share in revenue. What if there's zero revenue? Share in that, right? And, like, look, well, why does it occur in the summer? Because if you played in the winter, no one would ever watch. Few people do watch. Well, compare the numbers to hockey. Okay, you're comparing cable to network TV, and you're comparing the winter months to the summer months when it's running kind of unopposed. Women's basketball is doing fine. It's actually growing. It's doing better than it's ever done. It is never, ever going to equal out to the NBA. It is not the same. And here's the big thing. Okay, you have women's basketball players who complain about the revenue share. You're allowed to complain about that when you negotiate your collective bargaining agreement. I don't want to hear a thing about it now because I don't care. Okay, I don't care about yours. What if I were to go on air and talk about how much money I make and how we make money here? You know what you'd say? You'd say either one, that sounds pompous, or two, I don't give a shit, right? That's the same thing. You have a union, you collectively bargain. Whatever you can get out of that CBA, out of that collective bargaining, if you can get 70% of your revenue of the 30% to league, fine. Okay, but don't complain to us. Don't complain to social media. And you know what you also shouldn't do? Is you also shouldn't make us misogynists when Michael Porter's mom was a hooper. She was really good. And all he's stating is the obvious, which is it's not about how good you are. It's simply about how many people will watch and how much networks will pay to broadcast your product. That's it. And you can sit here and tell me how popular women's basketball is. If it was more popular, okay, here's the simple data. The women's NCAA tournament is more popular than it's ever been, right? Its new media deal with ESPN, okay, combined with all of the other NCAA sports not named men's basketball or the NFL, it's worth $60 million a year. The men's NCAA tournament, which was negotiated and then extended, but the extension was like 5 years ago. So really, it's probably worth 25 to 30% more. It's $770 million a year. Let me repeat that. That's 770. So it's valued, the tournament. Jay Stu, am I raw off here? If one is worth $770 million a year and one is worth $60 million a year, does that mean that the NCAA tournament is 100%, or actually like 110% more valuable per year to TV networks?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so again, I'll give you the easy analogy. I used to own a grand piano, right? And I called up this guy who was trying to sell a grand piano. And he was telling me that the grand piano was worth $10,000 to $15,000. And it had just been on auction. And what's the very low part of the auction, like the least amount of money they'll take? It's the reserve. The reserve was $3,500. And no one bid the reserve. I bought the piano off him for $1,500, really out of the goodwill of my heart, and paid a couple $100 to have it shipped and then tuned once it arrived at my house. Okay? And what I said to him then is what I will say to you now. You are worth what somebody is willing to pay you. The value of an object is worth what somebody is willing to pay for it. So you can tell me how valuable women's basketball is and how underpaid the NBA women are. But the college women, it's better and more watchable and more watched than it's ever been. But it's worth $60 million a year. The men's NCAA tournament, and we'd all agree that I love college basketball. Men's basketball is kind of a mess right now. Hard to figure out who's where because everybody transfers and whatever. It's worth $770 million and probably undervalued because it was done 5 years ago. Stop. The 50% of you who are saying this is misogynist, just trying to curry favor, stop it. Everybody sees through it. The 50% of that same group of people on Twitter who really, really love women's basketball, just celebrate the fact that we're watching it more, that it's going to be on network TV, and that it's going to grow more.